Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of the Creator Toolbox. This is the show that's all about the nuts and bolts behind your creator business. I'm Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com, joined by Jacob as always. How are you getting on, Jacob?
Great, good to be back. Excited for this one.
Good. Indeed. And we also have a guest, as always, of course, an excellent guest. And today we have Amanda Webb. How are you getting on, Amanda?
I'm good.
Good. So, Amanda, you work under the brand Spiderworking, don't you? You are a digital marketing ROI and analytics mentor, basically working to help people get more out of the digital marketing. Is that it? That sum up what you do? Or do you have a better way? Do you have a good elevator pitch that you tend to give people?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I help businesses to make sure that they're not wasting the time that they spend, because that's the biggest thing. I think people worry that they're spending so much time doing their marketing. Is it actually doing anything? So starting with Google Analytics, we evaluate everything they're doing and put together plans that are going to help them improve their results and hopefully mean they can spend less time doing it.
Indeed. That's what we all want. Less time doing that and more time doing fun bits, creating that content, all that stuff. So I've no doubt you've got loads of tools to share with us today then. So should we get kicked straight into it? You said you had loads, Amanda, don't you? So you've got, we're going to try and rapid fire a few today, I think. So we'll see how we go, see how many we can fit in. What you got for us first then? Do you have a favourite tool you want to start off with?
My absolute favourite tool, because it's the tool that has saved me so much time, is Toggle. It's a tracking tool. It's basically it's based for freelancers who want to measure how much time they're spending on client work so that they can charge them. But that's not how I use it, because I don't charge by the hour. I use it to monitor my own time, to make sure that I'm not spending too much time procrastinating or scrolling through my phone. So when I start a task, I start it off. When I finish a task, I finish. When I first started using this, I found out I was sitting by my desk 10 hours a day and working 5, right? Which is ridiculous.
Right.
So now I don't even spend 10 hours at my desk. I spend 8 hours, and out of that, I'd probably be working 7. So I'm very happy that I discovered this tool, because it's really, I never don't use it, because if I don't use it, I will procrastinate.
Oh, interesting. So what did it teach you that you were doing particularly outside of those start and stop hours? Like, did you kind of learn a little bit about what you do to procrastinate or what the causes of it are through using that? Was there anything that came up for you?
I think like most people, a lot of it's my phone, and now I hide my phone. Well, I don't hide it. I put it somewhere and then I forget where it is. So it is essentially hidden. So these days I will not know where my phone is most of the time. If you ask, well, I do know where it is now. It's right here. And I'm wondering, did I put it on Do Not Disturb? That's all going through my head. But usually I have like an Apple Watch, and I have to call my, you have a little button on it you can press and it makes a noise. So that was the first thing. But that doesn't stop me looking at other social sites, but really just knowing that I need to focus on the task, because otherwise I'm not going to be putting my hours in. So I have like a goal to work for 7 hours a day. And as long as I hit those 7 hours, I'm happy, and then I can have a little scroll. But I've really cut back on my social media use. I think most of us are that. But things sneak in, like you replace social media with email, for example. That happens. Oh, well, I can't look at Facebook or Instagram. Let's have a look at my email. Nothing's changed in the last 30 seconds. Okay. So that has been the main thing. All those little things that I was doing that were stopping me doing the main tasks that I should be. And that's enabled me to get into like a state of flow when I'm working now as well. So because I go, no, you can't look now because you won't clock up your hours, that keeps me like working on the thing I am, which means I'm working better on the thing that I am working on.
I love that. It's the kind of thing that you think is almost like too much monitoring or too much admin or something, like the Pomodoro technique. I remember playing around with that. You know, the little tomato that you set to 25 minutes, put in your desk and try and work within that. And you're like, this is ridiculous. A tomato that's going to beep at me in 25 minutes. But it's anything that just puts your mind on focus, isn't it? It kind of highlights time and helps you say, well, no, I'm still within my 25 minutes. Therefore, I'm not going to pick up my phone, pick up my social media. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Or it's only 2 minutes since I last looked at my phone and it seems like an hour. What's going on?
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, I used to use Toggle a lot for client work, actually. Back when I used to do paid client work, hourly work, Toggle, really good tool for it. I found it the best for that, actually. But yeah, hadn't thought about using it for my own self-control. That's great. Since you've got so many, Amanda, do you want to jump on to another one quickly as well? What have you got next in your list?
Yes. So just on a personal basis, if I do a workout in the morning, I'm more productive. So I know that's not for everyone. And I'm totally not trying to tell people who don't work out they should work out, but it works for me. So Apple Fitness, that's my next one. Another tool I could not live without. Every morning, it sets up a routine for 4 weeks for me. So all I need to do is get up in the morning, press a button, it shows me what to do. And it's just become a habit now. Sometimes I don't feel like it, but if I don't do it, I feel rubbish. And if I do it, I get off to a flying start in the morning. So that's been great. All my stuff is Apple. It's not like I'm not a real eye nerd. I just happen to have Apple stuff. So that works perfectly for me. I can use it on my phone. I can use it on my iPad. I can use it when I'm away. So it's really good for that.
Okay, you just get tied into an ecosystem, don't you? And then it's, that's just what
exactly.
you live with, what you use.
So talking of Apple, the third tool, and this is another one, and this is like a business and personal tool that I couldn't live without, is Apple Notes. It's just the perfect way for me to organize everything. So I have folders and notes for all my content projects, all my client projects, going to the gym. I have them for when you get an instruction manual, it's lots of paper and they stack up. I just scan it in and put it in a note. So whenever I need to work out how something works, I can put it in there. So that's been invaluable as well. Saves a lot of time fiddling through trying to find the right information.
Yeah. Do you know, I never used to use any of the kind of basic Apple tools, but I've started using Notes for so much more actually, just because it's, I don't know, I used to try and put it always in Cloud Tools. I used to be a real Evernote guy, and then I kind of shifted over to using Notion, and I always thought, because I can access it anywhere. But actually, I never really need my notes outside of my phone. It's always there. It's totally fine. So I've just used that because it's so much quicker and simpler. Jacob,
and that's the ecosystem too, because you've got it on your...
Amanda?
That's the ecosystem too, because you've got it. I've got it on my phone. I've got it on my computer. I've got it on my iPad. So I can pick it up anywhere pretty much. I know not in the cloud, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, do you use any habit tracking apps, or are you Apple? I think you're an Apple, aren't you?
I use Notes for a really messy dumping ground. Actually, a question for you, Amanda. Have you managed to find a good way to organize Apple Notes without... is there folders? Because I've never actually found it. I literally just create a note. I've got some pinned notes at the top where I've got a shopping list template, and that's the kind of thing I use it for. Regular kind of day-to-day things, or just scribbling down stuff while I'm on the go. But how do you organize your Apple Notes?
There are folders, but you might need to expand the sidebar to see them. I have folders. And within the folders, I have the notes, and each folder would have its pinned notes as well. So, and then you can organize the folders however you want. They don't have to be alphabetical order. You can pick them up and move them. And that's really good because I can quickly go to the note that I kind of know where it is in the list. So I can just quickly go into that folder and find what I want.
Do you have a sort of structure?
So I have... For client work, I do. So for client work, they will have their own folder with their own notes within the folder. And yes, I'd have a checklist for if I get an analytics client, if I'm doing the work for them, I have an audit checklist that I work through, and I would copy that note into each of their folders. So that's there. And then I'd have I write down my progress, everything that I do. Because analytics is so weird and different every time that you do it. I want to go, how did I fix that problem? So they'll always have a note for that within that client's thing, and then a list of the things that they want to know. And then I have other random notes. So I'm not that organized, but I have 2 or 3 standard notes that I'd use for each client, for example. Or for my content, for the live show that I do every week, I've got a bunch of notes that I update.
Right.
So there are checklists there to make sure I follow the whole process that I'm supposed to follow. And then I have notes for when I'm doing the research for it, and various other things as well.
Yeah.
Important links is good.
I like that. It helps a lot to have the structure, and then at least you know where you're going if you need to find something. Yeah. I'm so messy with mine. It's bad. Cool.
That's really cool. I did not know that there were folders in Apple Notes, so that's a game changer for me. I
suspected there were, and I never went looking for
set up straight after.
It's going to change your life.
Indeed, it absolutely is. Jacob, do you want to jump into yours? What's your tool of the week?
Yeah, so it's It's an idea of something that I'm working on at the moment. So I think with a lot of creator businesses, specifically ones that run a blog and or a newsletter, I think it might be a useful thought experiment for whenever you're running content, whenever you're creating content to try and sell products or services, there's a natural sort of life cycle. People will first visit your blog, or they'll first subscribe to your newsletter. And at the time that they do that, there's a more natural kind of sell or offer, and that might just be sign up to my newsletter, or it might be get this checklist, or whatever it is, So you try and kind of get them into your ecosystem, and then later on, once they're already part of your newsletter, there's a better offer, a different offer. Now, the way that most kind of blogs typically work, and indeed newsletters, is people will have they will just have a sort of subscribe to my newsletter pop up, or they'll have a form on there or something like that. And that's what we've been running a lot on our blog. And one of the things that I've been working on recently is moving away from just having a sort of static on this blog post we'll have a newsletter sign up form, to how can we show what's most relevant on an individual level. So what I've been doing with a couple of tools, on the blog side, I've been using a tool called Opt-in Monster, which is probably most known for sort of just pop-ups, exit-based pop-ups that will sort of try to detect when people are going to go off your site, and then bam, it'll show you a pop-up, or ones that you can kind of put in line and all that kind of thing. But one of the really cool features with Opt-in Monster is that you can cookie a user when they convert on a form. So if they sign up to your newsletter, you can leave a cookie in their browser, and later on, if they visit the site again, you can then go and fetch that cookie and basically ask the question, have they already signed up for our newsletter? And if they have, then you can change the sort of offer that you're showing them. And I've just been experimenting with this on our site, and so far it's working really well. And there's much bigger tools that kind of do this, like HubSpot's a big one. One of their big things is their dynamic call to actions, and it's all tied into their CRM. But HubSpot's very, very expensive, and for most people it's just completely inaccessible, including us. It doesn't make sense for us. But yeah, I think it's something that more creators could think about, is how can I make the offer that I'm making people in different places, whether it's on a blog or in a newsletter, how can I personalize that on an individual level? And there's tools that will do it. And yeah, I've seen some good results out of it. On the email side, we use ConvertKit to send our emails, and we've started using their snippets, which let you I think they're really just meant to put in like a little bit of kind of canned text. You might have a call to action in there. You might have an offer in there that might say, buy my book kind of thing. And you might drop that into either an email that you're sending someone, or you might, like a kind of one-off broadcast email, or you might put it into a sequence of emails. The way that we're using it is we've created one snippet, which is a small offer. So it's something short that I know I can put where I don't have a lot of space. I don't want it to be the main point of the email. And then in there's a little bit of, it's called liquid syntax. It'll check to see, does this contact have this tag? And if they do have this tag, then show them this bit of text, and if not, show them that bit of text. And effectively what that means is, for people that haven't yet bought our book on how to start a podcast, we will show them that offer until they do. And then once they've bought the book, we will then show them an offer for something else, for a course, for a sort of upgrade. And yeah, I think I've just been kind of, I don't know, quite self-satisfied with how it's worked out. It was a bit of an idea and a bit of a mission to get there, but it's worked out really nicely. And those two tools do let you do it quite nicely. So those are my tools of the week. But also just the idea, try and be more life cycle aware with the people that you're bringing into your database.
Love that.
Yeah. It's really, it is very satisfying. It's a good word for it, to know that people are actually getting something that's relevant to the stage they're at with us. Mm-hmm. As in, if they've come in and they've read a few things and they've bought something small, then actually they don't get shown that again. And we've always had that where you just kind of blunt force showing them adverts for everything and anything just to see what they'll bite at. But yeah, it's lovely being able to actually give people personalized, not just for our own benefit, which is obviously nice, but for their benefit. They don't want to see the same old thing every single time. They want to see something that's actually relevant to them. So it's giving a better user experience to our readers and our listeners and stuff as well, isn't it? So yeah, that's really cool. All righty. Have you got another one, Amanda? I'm going to squeeze in another one since you've... Go for it.
Unlimited.
With another.
We could just spend a whole time talking through my tools. So I gave you a few of my productivity tools, but really analytics is my bag. Google Analytics is what I spend all day, most days doing. So I thought I'd talk about some of the tools that you can use with your analytics. Good. And one that I think a lot of people will find useful, and actually... this might be used, you may be using something like this already, but I think it'll work really well with what you're talking about, is Microsoft Clarity, which is basically a heat mapping tool. So you might be using Hotjar or something like that. It's free. So that's the real bonus of using Clarity. It's really easy to install either directly with whatever web platform you're using or with Tag Manager. So it's literally a few clicks and it's installed on your site. And what it does is it records user sessions. So you can see how people are using your website. And it's kind of shocking. So when I first started using this and saw what people were doing, I was like, no, don't go to that page. It's not finished. Or don't click that button. So it really scares you into making sure you're making all those user experience updates to your website really fast. So I think I was obsessed with a week. I was just looking at the relevant visitors that were coming to my site. So the people that were within my target market, looking at what they were doing and improving the experience for them. And it did supercharge that. I do get a bit obsessive, particularly when I'm selling something, because, if I send out an email, I can see how many people are on my site right now, and I can see exactly what they're doing and what pages they're looking at. But again, that informs me about what's working. So if they're not able to click the button, or they're not clicking the button, or they're not, they're spending too long looking at the price and not clicking the button, there's lots of things that I've been able to improve. So things like adding in payment plans rather than just the full cost. I mean, you have to make certain assumptions about why they're not doing things and test it. So I was like, why are they're here? This is the 10th time they visited the site. They always seem to be hovering over the price. What if I put a payment plan in here as well? And it worked. Instantly, I started getting sales because I put the payment plan in. So if it hadn't, I would have taken it back out again and tried something else.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's great to know an actual live example of how it did improve your site as well, like something like that.
Yeah.
Are there many others?
It is scary.
Have you got any other good examples of like things that you noticed that were blindingly obvious once you see it in those kind of recordings, but weren't before?
Yeah. Other tools. So if you want to get a bit more geeky with your analytics, whenever I get a new client and I start looking, I use a tool called Analytics Debugger, which if you search that, it's a Chrome extension. It's a picture of a little duck because there's a lot of debug tools out there. And basically this is added into your developer tool. So, if you go in to view your source, there's developer tools there. When you click in, what it does, it can tell you what, if they have analytics installed, if they have more than one Google Analytics installed, if they have Google Tag Manager there. And you can also navigate through the website and see which tags are firing to a certain extent, because obviously you can't see everything inside. So you're able to see, do they have conversion events set up? How is the site configured? And that gives me a really good idea before I get access to their analytics, where they are now and some of the problems that might arise from it. So anyone that's interested, even spying on your own analytics, but definitely on clients' analytics, it's a really cool tool. It took me ages, though, to work out how it worked because everyone was saying it was great. And I kept clicking the little duck symbol in my Chrome browser and nothing happened. I didn't realize I had to go into the developer tool. So just if you've tried that before and go, it doesn't work, you have to go into the developer tools and find it there. But it's an amazing tool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is there anything in particular, any one most common mistake people are making with their analytics that hold them back from that?
More than one version of their same analytics account installed so many times. And I can see it with that tool because it will just show me page view every time I look at a page. And they've only got one analytics ID. So this happens a lot with WordPress because people have all the plugins and maybe their developer put it on the site without a plugin, and then they've added a plugin and the plugin says, do you want to add your analytics? And they do. So that is the biggest problem. It can be really disappointing for people as well, because it means basically their traffic is half of what they thought it was. So really disappointing, but I see it happen so often. It's so easy for it to happen. So definitely look for that one. If you're using the debug tool and you see when you visit one page that 2 page view events trigger, that's usually the problem.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah. Jacob, you do most of the work with our analytics, don't you, these days? Is there, does that tool sound useful to you?
It actually does.
That running on our site.
I use, or historically I have used, I feel like recently it's changed though, just the Google's own tag manager tool. And that's kind of always what I use now. But I tend to just run everything through tag manager anyway. All of our tracking stuff keeps it all in one place, and it means I only need to kind of look there. And their debugging tool is pretty good, but it's I don't know, I feel like it changed recently. I felt like I used to just be able to click on the icon in Chrome and it would tell me the page view events and all that kind of stuff. And now it doesn't. Now it makes me go to Tag Manager and open up a whole debug window, and it's just like, why break a good thing? Maybe I'm wrong though. I don't know. Have you noticed that change?
Everything changed when Google Analytics changed. Yeah.
Why break a good thing? I mean, isn't that Google's policy? That's their actual philosophy in life.
Let's not even get into it.
So I suppose just to say the difference is with the debugger tool, you don't have to have access to their analytics or their tag manager. So that's the difference. It's more for looking at other people's sites rather than your own. But that can also be really good if you want to look and see how one of your competitors' sites is configured. That can be really useful. Not that I'm putting evil spying ideas into your head, but it's good for that too.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's a nice one. That's a good one. Have you got, how many more analytics ones have you got?
Tag Assist. Yes, Tag Assist Companion. Oh, hang on. I'm just going to have to look because I've got 2 there. And I think Tag Assist Companion was the one that you were talking about. Yes, the one that you click it and it used to, now it opens up a Tag Manager window. And even if you haven't got Tag Manager installed, which is really confusing. But what that does do, it gives you access to debug mode in Google Analytics. So even if you don't look at the Tag Manager, you can look at debug and see what's actually happening there. But the other one I like is, we've got something just happened called Consent Mode 2, which means most people's cookie blockers don't block cookies. Don't look too close at mine. I'm working on it. Right? Even big organizations, you'll notice that their cookie tools aren't blocking cookies. Now, Google just introduced Consent Mode 2, which is basically saying if you want to run ads, you have to have Consent Mode actually working properly with your cookie blocker, so that you're not tracking their visits to your website, can't see them in Clarity, and you can't see them in Google Ads. You have to have that unless they give consent. So there is this really cool, it's like another Chrome plug. I love my Chrome extensions until my Chrome crashes and I have to uninstall them all. But this one, it's called, I'm just looking, I think it's called Tag Explorer. I'm going to click it now. Yeah, Tag Explorer. And it's just a little magnifying glass that sits on your thing, and it will tell you what cookies fire when you visit a site. So you can see, it's already tracking me before I've done anything with the cookie banner. And then when you click the cookie banner, does anything happen? So if you want to check your own website to see if it's working properly, that's a really good one. I don't want to call anyone out because so many people, like I say, including myself, but I'm working on it with my web dev, it's not configured correctly. And it really is down to your cookie banner tool that you're using, one that works with consent mode, and then enabling it. That's the key. So that's a good one for just seeing what are people tracking when you go to your website. Yeah. Again, it's useful for me because I want to see are people using Tag Manager before because like Jacob, massive fan of Tag Manager, don't like to do anything without it. So straight away I can go and I can see, have they got Tag Manager implemented? Have they got Google Analytics? What other tags have they got on their site?
Yeah. All right. I'm definitely not furiously writing notes saying I need to check if we're compatible with cookie mode 2 or whatever you said. Consent mode 2? Yeah, I got that.
Consent mode 2, yeah.
Cool. All right. I'll jump in and do one of mine, and then let's get into Creators of the Week, because we're on to, getting about half an hour into the show now. So mine is, this week, I've been very much enjoying playing around with a new toy on my desk, which is the Elgato prompter. So I came across this. I've been looking at getting a teleprompter for a little while, I've always shied away from using a teleprompter because I've spent a lot of time training how to be a good speaker, and I've spent a lot of time like practicing that and learning how to do it well. So I've always kind of thought that I should use that and present without reading and all that and try and remember. But sometimes, it's actually just really handy to be able to just read a script. And actually that kind of presentation skills training comes into that too, because I can actually read a script reasonably well without sounding utterly like I'm reading. So I took the plunge and decided to get one. And I started looking into them, and the Elgato prompter, quite a new product, seemed like good timing actually that I bought it, because it was just coming up loads. And there's a few different things that make it slightly different from a normal prompter if you haven't come across it. Normally with a teleprompter, it's just kind of it's almost just a cage. It's a frame with a curtain on the back. You put the camera in the back of it, in front of the mirror, and you put an iPad or a phone or something on the front. You always have to have your own screen and your own camera. And the teleprompter itself is really just a frame with a little kind of funny half-pass mirror type of thing. But the Elgato prompter actually comes with its own screen. And that's actually a bit of a game changer for me, because it means you don't have to have any other screens. You can actually use it as a second screen on your computer. And that brings a whole bunch of stuff to the fore for me. For example, right now, I'm recording this on the prompter. I'm looking at you guys. I'm looking at you, Amanda, you, Jacob, on the screen, because I've got our Riverside window on my second screen, which happens to be the prompter that's right in front of the camera. So right now I'm looking at your faces, but it looks like I'm looking at the camera because the prompter is actually showing your faces in front of the camera. And that's possible in a hacky way if you've got an iPad or an iPhone, because you can sometimes connect it up to your computer as a second screen, but it's not half as simple, especially if you're a PC user rather than, connecting different types of phones. So it's so cool, actually, I've found, for recording podcast interviews or live events, because I can actually look people in the eye and not have to, it looks like I'm actually looking at the person. I genuinely think that adds a little bit of extra engagement to an interview, being able to kind of look at somebody like that. So I'm really liking that. But also, there's the obvious teleprompter stuff. It's got its own software built in, so you can have the script running. It's just really simple for actually doing the traditional teleprompter stuff, showing the script on there, because again, it's directly connected as a second screen. You don't have to have an app on your iPad, all that kind of stuff. Just runs on the computer you're actually recording on. You can run it with all sorts of different cameras. It comes with all these fittings for different DSLRs, different webcams, all that kind of stuff. So it's just really handy in that way. But there's like silly little things I've been enjoying about it too. Like I now have my calendar just sitting up in this second screen up here all the time, full screen. And it's just like I've got a calendar on my wall right in front of me. And that really helps a person like me who's completely and utterly unorganized and scatty and misses stuff all the time unless I have something shouting at me to do the thing. So I've got in the habit now of having this calendar just sitting there, and it's telling me, oh, you've got this thing coming up at this point. And it's great. I've just really enjoyed that. So yeah, the Elgato prompter, it's not the cheapest thing in the world. It's definitely more expensive than your average teleprompter, but like I said, you don't need an extra device. You don't need a phone, an iPad, or whatever. So it does come with kind of more utility, I think. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Have either of you guys come across it at all so far?
Yeah, I'm really jealous. I really wanted one. I was on the verge of buying one, and then I saw a few people who were having problems like connecting it up to their computer, and we've had issues before with the cam link from Elgato.
Oh, really?
Like I do use Stream Deck and a few of their other things, but I was just a little bit worried because it was such a big investment that if it came and it wouldn't work, even just sending it back would just be painful. So your review's swaying me back to looking at it again. I don't like teleprompters. I tell people not to use them, but no, I really want one. And I don't like teleprompters. I tell people not to use them, but you're right. Sometimes when I'm recording a specific thing that needs to be word perfect. You know, that's when it would come in useful. Like particularly like training videos where I have to say exactly the right words. That would be really useful. And I'm doing a few of those, and you know, you have to be very concise and clear, and I can't just put my normal bounciness into it. It would just improve that.
It's, do you know, yesterday I did a live talk as well. There was a summit I did with Amanda. You'll know Teresa Heath-Waring. She ran her Rise Above event yesterday, and I was honoured to be able to do a session for her during that event. Half an hour talk. Something I've done fairly often, but it's still quite nice to have the bullets in front of you, just to, you know, have something there as a prompt. And I had that on the screen. It wasn't word for word script. It was just the bullets and the slides as well alongside it. And I could just really nicely, easily, you know, glance through the bullets, look at the slides, all on the screen that the camera is behind, and therefore I was always engaging with the screen the audience was looking at. It just felt really like this is a really good tool. And to me, actually, I know what you mean, Amanda. Some of these things they can have niggles, but this has worked perfectly for me so far. Actually, connected immediately when I plugged it in, so I have absolutely no complaints so far. Have you spotted it before, Jacob, as well?
No, first time I spotted it, and I was going to ask you about it today, was on your Instagram story. So that's the first time I've ever heard about it. What was the damage, right? I'm hearing lots of money. What was the damage?
Yes, I've not said that yet, have I? What was it again? I think it was, do you know, I can't even remember now. It was like $299, I think. So definitely not a cheap purchase. So yeah, it's a bit of an investment, potentially a bit of a luxury for most people. But I think we do enough education videos which really benefit from having a script. We do enough live events that I think it's really worthwhile, and enough interviews like podcast recordings and stuff like this that I think it does actually, it's not an essential by any means. It's just a little kind of a small level up potentially, but I think it does make enough of a difference that's not an insignificant bonus to it as well. Alrighty, yeah, sponsored by Elgato. If you're interested,
info
get in
at
touch.
thepodcasters.com. Please get in touch.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Right, let's jump on to creators. So usually we go first, Amanda. We'll put you on the spot. You're our creator of the week as the person that's come on the show. Jacob, you've got a few good questions here. Do you want to jump into it? Go for it. Ask Amanda a few.
Well, I'm really excited to have someone here who actually knows really what they're talking about in analytics. Because I think most of us are just making it up as we go along to a point.
This is not a consultancy session, Jacob. Just
I know. Right, it's a simple question, right? Am I just bad/lazy, or is GA4 rubbish?
Okay, neither of those two things. GA4 is amazing and I absolutely love it, but I have been using it non-stop. I stopped using Universal Analytics because otherwise I was never going to learn how to use it. So probably 2 years since I looked at Universal Analytics. So I think the problem is it doesn't have those lovely pre-made reports that you had. Like basically in Universal Analytics, it had everything. You could click in, you'd get a social report like that. You'd get any report you wanted. But it was horribly complicated because they kept bolting bits on. So there were like 200 reports in the sidebar to look at. And it was just like, I don't know what half of these do and I don't care. I just want to look at this one. With Google Analytics, you customize it yourself, or Google Analytics 4, you customize it yourself. So you have to decide what information it is that you want and create your own reports, your own explorations to see that. But once you've done that, that's the work done. It's busy kind of collating everything together and you can just click into those. You can even personalize your sidebar and have just the reports you want to see there. So you can get rid of all the mess and just have the information you want. So it's horrible because it's not off the shelf, but actually you get a lot more out of it because you can customize so much.
The thing I miss, though, I think, and I won't moan about it for too long, is I miss knowing that I can go into analytics and find data that has already been recorded. I know that I can have a question come to my mind, and I know that like somewhere or another I can get some sort of answer to it. But the thing that I keep running into with GA4 is I have to create a new dimension to track things that are actually useful to me. I don't know. I need to spend more time with it. I know there needs to be more setup done up front, but I miss just being able to ask questions.
I mean, you can. There's a lot of stuff that is actually there. So that was the first thing I did. I started thinking, right, what do I want this to tell me? And then I was able to see that information, but only because I went and looked, like I say, I spent a long time getting to know how it worked and where everything was. I think something else is the language is very confusing because they've added all these things in. Like you go in and it's saying default channel group, and now they've got first user default channel group. And it's like, what even is that? What does that mean? So they put in all these new bits of language. Yeah. That was the hardest bit for me because I want a social report. Okay, so they don't have a standalone social report. How do I create a social report? And you put in social and it's like, is that platform social? Is it user social? Is it, and then is it your default channel group or is it your medium or is it, and I think that's your head wreck to start with. Yeah. You will learn to love it. I'm guarantee. If you start looking at it regularly, you will go, oh, actually, this is way better. This is way better than the way it used to be. Okay, but I do feel your pain because honestly, when I first started, that's why I had to just abandon. I mean, you don't have a choice anymore, but I just had to abandon universal analytics and go, I need to understand this. And I need to just keep working on it until I do. Yeah. But I just love that you can you're right about the dimensions. That's kind of annoying because I set up a report the other day for a client and forgot to add the video title and video URL dimension to their video tag. And that meant I can't see anything before the moment that I set up those dimensions into the tag itself. So that can be frustrating, but, you need an expert like me to configure it, and then everything is really good.
Nice play.
Smooth.
And Tag Manager, the fact that you use Tag Manager, but the fact that you use Tag Manager, you're already way ahead of most of the people that I work with. So, you'll get there.
Good. I'm glad. I need the hope. Yeah. One more question, and then I'll pass back to Colin. This is maybe a bit of a cliche, but if you had to start a new creator business today, wipe the slate clean, no following, no nothing, what would you start? And more importantly, I think, how would you get your first 10 customers as things stand today?
I feel that even though I've been in this business for almost 15 years, I did just start really focusing on analytics in the last 2 years. So I feel like I started a new business. But that is the thing I struggle with. What platform do I promote this on? How do I promote that? So if I was starting from scratch with no followers, it'd be much harder because I'm selling to the same people I've always sold to. I'm selling them something new. But I would start on LinkedIn right now because LinkedIn is currently in March 2024 the absolute best place to meet potential customers. So it's a really good place to test ideas, to get into conversations, to find people who are experts in your area so that you can learn from them. You can get into direct messages with people and really get to know them better. It is really, for me, the top platform. Yeah. But apart from that, and weirdly, because I hardly ever use it, Instagram. The reason I say that is almost every single client that I work with, when we do, they want to prove Instagram is working. And 99% of the time, we find out it is working way beyond what we expected it to, both on customers and revenue. I think the time where tutorials were the thing is kind of past. I mean, tutorial videos do really well. But the ones where people want to hire you is when they can see your personality. So I think that's why Instagram works. And going live, even though my live show is about social media and digital marketing news, it's still where people get to know me, and it's people that have seen that show that tend to hire me, or people that have hired me once keep watching the show and hire me again. So I think having your personal brand in the forefront would be the way to get your first 10 customers.
Nice. Great answer.
That's cool to hear. Yeah. We've been playing with LinkedIn a bit more as well recently, and me in particular, but just to try and build a bit of a brand more for the business. But yeah, it's It's tough. I just don't get on with social media very well in general. I need a really kind of solid goal around it. But yeah, certainly that's been more pleasant to interact with than Facebook or Twitter, I've found in the past. But you mentioned Twitter broadcast there. I was interested to see that. Tell me about that. Like what you're broadcasting on Twitter, but I think you're also broadcasting on LinkedIn too. How is that working
so
for
my
you?
live show is everywhere that I can put it, apart from Instagram, because Instagram has to be vertical. And my tool will do that. It's just I have like things that come up on the screen. It just doesn't work. So yeah, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, on 2 different places, on Facebook, on my profile and my page. And then we do a live audio on LinkedIn. So we do a live audio recording afterwards.
I see, right.
Which is myself and making Sang. We do a little, it's just a bit of banter really, but we talk about one of the stories. People can come in. It's a really good way to get podcast guests. So anyone that's listening, we invite them to come. Obviously, we do a little bit of a check before we get them in. We record it on Descript because LinkedIn doesn't record itself. And we get great contributors coming in to have their say as well. So it's actually fun because it's live, much like we are now, but we never know who's going to turn up. So we have great contributors to that. So that's great fun. And it was Twitter /X audio, but then Elon Musk bought Twitter, and I was like, I'm not putting all my content gems in here because what's going to go wrong? It might not last. So we moved to LinkedIn, which we never get as many people listening in on LinkedIn as we did on Twitter, but actually I think the quality of the people that join us are way better there.
That's been my absolute experience with LinkedIn. The numbers are way lower, so I've had to readjust my expectations in terms of reach and comments and likes and all that kind of stuff. But it's much more true, if that makes sense. Much more real, actual real people as opposed to just passing nonsense. Yeah, so that's cool. How's that? So that LinkedIn audio, I've not played with that at all yet. You're broadcasting that just audio, no video at all? Is that right?
Just audio, yeah. So it's interesting. I think a lot of people, I remember when Clubhouse was the big thing, right? Everyone was saying that, and I really couldn't be bothered to spend my time listening to people on Clubhouse. But then it came on Twitter and I was like, well, this is like a channel that I'm using every day anyway, so why not give it a go here? So I tried it out and I still didn't listen to other people. It was just us. But it was exceptional. It was you feel like you're building a deeper relationship with people when you hear them. People aren't always ready to go on camera. Like today, we delayed this recording by half an hour because I was in the gym and I needed to come back and brush my hair and stuff. Look normal. So it's like people don't have to worry about that with audio. So I think people are more likely to join you and be a part of it than if they go, oh, well, I'd love to contribute, but I can't put my camera on because the state of me. That works really well. So both on Twitter and LinkedIn, that has been great. I really feel like we're getting to know our contributors a lot better, and we give them a shout out. We give them a moment to talk about their business as well. So that's been working really well.
That's brilliant. I'm going to have to look into that properly then, because I wasn't really aware of that, if I'm honest. I knew the Twitter broadcast functions were there. I didn't really know they had that in LinkedIn, and that really suits obviously the kind of stuff we do as well. And I put out a newsletter a couple of weeks ago along similar lines around the pressure people are feeling in podcasting right now to do video and the not insignificant barriers that is. Like that exact thing you just said there, Amanda. Like people do care, like rightly they care, like what you look like on camera, your lighting, the background, all that kind of stuff. It creates a much bigger barrier to doing it in the first place, and then even to connecting once you're on, because there's this kind of there's a screen between you and them. So there's definitely something there. I'm going to have a look at that. It's great. All right. Let's look at then your creator of the week then, Amanda. I think you said you might have had a few options for this as well. Have you got maybe a couple you can jump through? Right. We're definitely going to have to get you back on again for a future episode.
I've got like three.
All right.
Can I give you three on my list?
Go for it.
It's not a million. I have more on my list, but we'll go with these three because I think they're worth it for different reasons.
Oh, excellent. Even better. Right. Yeah. We'll trust you. Go for it.
So I do a lot of work with tourism businesses. I do workshops for Vulture Island, which is the government organisation that helps promote tourism businesses. So I've been doing workshops for them for pretty much as long as I've had my business. So I'm always looking for examples in that area. And there is a hotel, a family-owned hotel in the name of the county has gone out of my head, called the Woodstock Hotel in Ireland. And the two owners of the hotel are just amazing. So they create reels, they create videos, they're all fun, there's all a bit of banter, but without bringing down the quality of the hotel. You'd never think that you weren't going to get a quality experience there. They do just fun, quick reels. They're full of ideas, totally committed to this. I mean, they're hoteliers. They have a lot on their plate. Having worked with hoteliers, I know their days are crazy, but they still manage to put out humorous, fun content on a regular basis. And I was talking to Sean. So Sean is the guy from the Woodstock Hotel. He told me that it was actually loads of people were booking. And I think that goes back to what I was saying. People want to know the people behind the business. So people would get in touch and say, oh, I love your reels, I have to book in. So it's events, weddings, as well as just general tourists. So definitely check out the Woodstock Hotel. They're not specific to a network. You'll get them on Facebook, and Instagram is mostly where you're going to see them, but they have accounts on LinkedIn as well. So definitely worth following them. And if you ever need an example for a tourism business doing something amazing, it's them.
Yeah. Do you have an example?
That's my tourism one.
What? Yeah, perfect. Do you have an example of one thing they do which is, makes their Instagram stand out, or their Facebook or anything like their reels, for example, particularly? How do they do it?
So on Pancake Day, for example, they did a thing where the two of them, the husband and wife, had a competition to run through the hotel flipping pancakes, and they had like a whole layout that they had to do, and they had to flip the pancakes all the time as they did it. So, they're running down corridors, they're here, they're flipping it, there's competition between the two of them, there's a whole story going on here. So they're pushing each other out of the way. And then, of course, they arrive in the breakfast room, which is amazing, and they've got their amazing pancakes and all the toppings. They had to make one. That is the last bit in it. So that was a good way to tie in, look at the amazing breakfast we do, along with a trend for a holiday, which
smart.
Most hotels just ask the question, what are you putting on your pancake? They really made a splash.
Yeah.
So that's just, they do tend to trend jack a lot. Joe Biden came to visit. This wasn't a reel. This was just an Instagram carousel. Joe Biden came to visit Ireland, and they photoshopped him into different locations in their hotel. So behind a wedding, going like this, sitting in the lounge, sitting up in bed. So there's a lot of humor in there. But at the same time, like I say, it's showing off how beautiful their hotel is at the same time.
Every minute. Yeah, totally. That's great. Excellent. Good examples. All right. What's your number 2?
Number 2 is a analytics creator called Dana Di Tommaso. I think I always say her name wrong. And I have Italian roots. You'd think I'd be able to say it. She is, apart from me, if you don't know much about analytics, follow me. I'll give you tips. Come join my mailing list, of course. But apart from me, you should really follow Dana, because she is really into, you're going to love her, Jacob. She's really into the geeky stuff about analytics. She's really into Tag Manager. She's on top of it. She can do all these things I'd never even thought of doing. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's incredible. She has a live show, which is an interview show that she's just started. Her company is called Kickpoint. She's been on all the podcasts, so I just need to eclipse her and push her out of a few of those so that I can get on them too. Not on yours yet, right?
No,
but she just is so smart and so relatable. And every time I watch something from her, I feel like I've learned something. So if you're into your analytics, she's somebody to follow.
Great. I mean, if you can make analytics interesting and fun, and she's doing well. So good stuff. And you too, of course, Amanda.
Yeah. She's on LinkedIn is where you'll find her. So check for her on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we're going to have a look. All right, excellent. Number 3.
Number 3 is, I talked about my fitness obsession earlier, Sean Casey Fitness on Instagram. He's based in Northern Ireland, and he's just hilarious. He just makes me laugh. He's like a no-nonsense fitness instructor, and it's not the fitness I'm really into. So he's like, that whole thing about not drinking diet drinks came out a while ago because, if you drank a swimming pool worth of diet drinks, you could get sick. So he did a whole video about that, about how much better it was to drink this than it was to drink sugary Coke. He talks about eating bread. He did a 30-day Reels challenge, or was it stories, where he went on a sandwich diet. because his whole thing is you can eat bread, just don't eat too much bread, just don't eat over your calories. So every day, 3 meals a day, he had sandwiches. That's all he ate.
Smart man.
Which to me, that was just hugely entertaining, because you want somebody who's not telling you can't do this, you can't do that. Doesn't everyone love bread, really? I want to eat it sometimes. So I just loved that he did that. And he lost weight doing it as well. So
nice. Yeah.
Very
That's
smart.
Cool. That sounds good. Yeah. That's for good examples from very different industries. So I would just always learn so much from finding people that other people engage with. It's just somebody that you've resonated with. And because it's quite hard to, sometimes you get into your own little silos of content. I find there's people that you follow and you don't really go outside of that too much. Or certainly I find that. So yeah, great to get these recommendations. All right. Any additions to that, Jacob, before we close it out?
No.
Perfect. I meant to say questions, really, but I did say, come on, yeah. Right, okay. Thank you very much, Amanda. It's been a great episode. We've got so many tools. You've packed in more than anyone has before. So, but it sounds like you've even got a ton more to go. So we'll have to get you on again sometime. Perfect. Okay. Thank you for joining us on the Creator Toolbox. I've been Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com. If you do want to learn how to start your own podcast, go over to thepodcasthost.com/start. And that's our huge guide to getting started. And for all the other stages, you can search in the search bar at the top, find anything you need around podcasting. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you on a future episode.